Welcome back. In this unit, we'll talk about attention and divided this topic into two systems, attention system 1 and attention system 2. Out of 3 video series for this unit, the first video will talk about attention in general. Before we talk about the outcomes for this video, I want to give you a big picture. If you remember, the puzzle you're trying to solve is how we comprehend a written text. Is it as individual fundamental pieces specific to history of psychology, language and processing, comprehension theories, and comprehension processes. We've covered all these, including the basic processes such as sensation, perception. Now we are in this third and the last but one piece, the attention. And the only one small piece that would be left, individual piece to talk about, would be the memory or the long-term memory. So the outcomes for this video are 4. First, we'll talk about 2 aspects of attention. Then we'll talk about multiple meanings of attention. And within that, we categorize the multiple meanings of attention into 2 categories. One is called attentional system 1, which is also called the input attentional system, and attention system 2, which is the conscious or controlled attentional system, followed by the last outcome about 4 attentional ideas. Let's get started with the first one, the 2 aspects of attention. So what do you see here? I want you to pause this video for a second and try to look at this particular image and see if you can identify anything. I hope you pause the video and try to identify. Did you observe anything? Well, even if you did or did not observe anything, you are actually concentrating your resources to make sense of patterns of dots. That is attention. Attention is a mental process. It's a mental process of concentrating your effort on a stimulus or on a mental event. When you think about something, you are concentrating your effort on one object. Or if you are looking at an object and trying to identify what it is, you are concentrating your effort on that particular image. That is attention. It's a process. It's a process of focusing your effort on one thing. But there is another aspect. That's where the first outcome is 2 aspects of attention. The first is attention as a mental process. The second is a mental resource. In other words, for you to concentrate, focus your effort, you need resources. Attention is both the process of using resources, but also the resource itself. In that sense, mental process is one aspect of attention and resource is the other aspect. Have you seen this particular thing? This is a Dalmatian dog and there is a tree here. I know it was hard for you to identify this, or if you've already seen an image like this, you probably would have identified the object. This is the Dalmatian dog with the face down, bending down, and this is the back of the dog. What do you do when you attend to something? Well, when you attend to something, you recognize a pattern as an object. For instance, when you're trying to attend to information here, you're trying to identify this as something. You can see attention and perception are linked. Sensation comes first. Your eyes will capture a lot of information. Remember, 76% of the information out there in the environment, out of which you select a part of it through attention. The selected information is what is perceived. We've already discussed what perception is. It is identifying an object as something. Now, we use this focus, we use this perception process in almost everything we do. For instance, if you're looking at an object, you focus in order to perceive it as an object. If you're reading a sentence, you'll focus on individual words in order for you to understand the individual words, then the entire sentence. If you're reading a reason problem, then you need to understand the reason problem. You need to focus on the individual words, understand the individual words and the combination of those words in the sentence. Even if it's a problem, you need to understand the given so you can find the ungiven or the solution for the problem. Even that requires you to focus on the parts of the problem. That again is attention. Attention, in a general sense, then, as a mental process, is a focus. You can focus on an external object like this, or you can focus on an internal object in your mind. Let's say I'll ask you a question. What is the color of Statue of Liberty? Well, if you said green or patina or something along those lines, or blue-green or green, then you're absolutely right. But were you standing in front of the Statue of Liberty when you answered this question? I guess not. But still you were able to evoke the image of it in your head, and you were focusing on that when you realize that it's green color. So the idea is you can focus on an object that is external to you, or you can also focus on an object that's inside your mind, which is retrieving information from your long-term memory. The second outcome for this video is to talk about multiple meanings of attention. If you think about it, The word attention is used in so many different ways. For instance, you can say, attention is a danger area out there. Maybe if you're in class, your teacher may say, pay attention, as if it's a resource you are required to spend. Or attention is also used as say how to, like, that something caught my attention, as if it's not a conscious choice, but it caught your attention. Or attention could also mean a basic thing as a mental state of being awake or aware. So it means several things. And we have categorized those things into categories. So the 6 meanings of attention are alertness, orienting reflex, spotlight attention, selective attention, attention as a resource, and supervisory attentional system. All these are different meanings the word attention carries. And for convenience, we have categorized them into 2 groups. We call the first 3 as attention system 1, the second 3 as belonging to attention system 2. Another name for attention system 1 is input attention. For attention system 2 is output attention or controlled attention or conscious attention. We have categorized those into 2 bigger categories of input and output, or attention 1 and attention 2. Now, the outcome for this part is to differentiate these 2 systems, input attentional system and conscious attentional system. Attention system 2 is a control system. Remember, when you were asked to identify the object in this pattern, you were consciously, deliberately, intentionally trying to identify a pattern. That's a controlled process. That belongs to attention system 2. Imagine you're in a classroom and somebody in the black row shouts, "What do you do?" Well, you suddenly turn your head, try to locate the source of the sound. That is something catching your attention. I put this picture here because when beagles, especially when they hear a sound, they tilt their head like, I love that. That's automatic. When something catches your attention, that is an example of input attentional system. Input attentional system is quick. It's not deliberate. It happens without your choice. Once you've determined the source of it, then you spend conscious attentional resources. You see the difference here? One is more basic. The other one is more controlled. One is like a necessary state. The other one is a more conscious, deliberate state. Now, about the differences between these 2 systems. Attention system 1, it's quick and you're unaware of it, whereas attention system 2 is slow and you're aware of it. Attention system 1 is more automatic. It's almost reflexive, whereas attention system 2 is more conscious. Attention system 1 is more unintended. It just happens, or it's the fundamental state you're in. It's unintended, whereas attention system 2 is more intended, conscious, deliberate. That's the basic difference between these 2 systems, attention system 1 and attention system 2. You can think of attention system 1 as a quick reactive system. Attention system 2 is a more deliberate system, and we need both. So this brings us to the last outcome for this video, the 4 critical attentional ideas. These are important ideas I want you to keep in mind, and we keep coming back to these. First, before we talk about 4 ideas, I just want to reiterate that sensation comes first, then perception. In between sensation and perception is attention. Your eyes capture information, that is sensation. You use attention to select a part of the sensed information, that is attention. Then your brain perceives this selected information, that's perception. So the order of mental processes then is SAP, sensation, attention, and perception. So that only a part, whatever sensed information there is, whatever you focus on, only that gets perceived. With this information in the back of your mind, let's talk about the 4 attentional ideas. The first attentional idea is in line with what we just talked about, and that is, there is a lot more of information in your sensory memory than you can attend to. In other words, just imagine, again, this is just an analogy, just imagine this is the information captured in your eye. Okay, so this entire information is captured by your eye, but you're focusing on a part of it, right? So there is a lot more of information in your sensory memory, in your eyes, your retinal cells, than you can focus on. You cannot focus on this entire captured information. So first attentional idea is that there's a lot more information in your sensory memory than you can attend to at any given point of time. And related to the same thing is the idea that the attentional resources you require are very limited. Correct? There's a lot more information than you can attend to because your attentional resources are limited. The third idea, what is 2 plus 2? That's right, 4. What is 48 divided by 2 times 9 plus 3? You're working on it, right? I'm pretty sure you'll find an answer to that, but you did not definitely answer it as quickly as you did for this one. The point here I'm trying to make is the third attentional idea, which is task variability in attentional needs. In other words, some tasks are automatic, or some tasks are easier, whereas other tasks are difficult. When I say difficult, that means it needs more attentional resources than others. So the third idea is that some tasks require more attentional resources than others. That's called task variability. Now, if you remember, when you first learned to drive, what happened there? Were you able to drive right away like you're doing right now? No, right? You have to learn individual components of it first. Trying to balance the steering, then trying to maneuver your hands, trying to maneuver your legs, right? So the task, the attentional resources required for driving at that point was a lot, but now maybe not that much. So task variability is the attentional demands needed. Some tasks are easier, some tasks are difficult, some tasks require less attentional resources, some tasks require more attentional resources. How can you turn a difficult task into a simple task? How can you turn driving a car being difficult to driving a car being very easy? Well, you know that, right? Practice. Practice is key to automaticity. Automaticity is when you can do a task with little to no attentional resources. And practice is the key to making things less task reliable or less attentional reliable. So you can change task variability in terms of attentional needs through practice. So this brings us to the end of Unit 5.1, where we talked about attention in general, right? And we also said that we have categorized attention into 2 groups, attention system 1 and 2. In attention system 2, we'll talk about these 3 things, these 3 meanings, and in attention system 2, we'll talk about these 3 meanings. So Unit 5.2, we'll talk about attention system 1, which is input attention system, and Unit 5.3, we'll talk about attention system 2, which is nothing but the control attention system. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned. I'll see you in the next video. Have fun learning.